It's the Spec-5 World Tour, and round 2 is at Barber Motorsports Park. If you're to believe IndyCar's marketing, this place is a little bit of a roller coaster, and I could see why you'd think that. Lots of corners, lots of elevation change, really all about carrying the momentum, and that's the character of these race cars, regardless of where we go. So thanks for joining us for this coverage on HJBC of the Spec-5 World Tour. We've got a 45-minute race coming up.
Oh, Haynes, I love visiting Barber Motorsports Park. It's such a beautiful, wilderness-filled place. There's spiders in the woods. There's dragonflies. There's giants galore. What a great place to host a motor race.
It's basically Australia, but in Alabama. And do you know what else we love? We love RC Sales bringing us this coverage this season.
Yeah, we got to say a big thank you to RC Sales. Go to RCSales.com for all that is Porsche. RC has thousands of parts available for virtually any Porsche model, providing high-quality service with a personal approach. And with worldwide shipping available, you won't need to go anywhere else. Visit RCSales.com today.
Now, round 1 from Daytona International Speedway a week ago was an absolute classic, exactly the style of racing you would have expected. So close, so competitive. These cars slipstream off each other. They want to pack race. They want to buzz like a group of hornets. We'll see at a different character of racetrack exactly how that plays out, but you know the racing will still be competitive with almost 30 drivers on the grid again tonight. They're in qualifying right now where the drivers get 4 flying laps, and it looks like, based on Andrew Gilliland here, tyre preparation pretty key. I'd say the track is pretty cold, so 4 flying laps though, that's not going to help the tyre temperature. From the open class leader, 4 flying laps, you're not going to be quickest on lap 1. You're going to build up that speed across this qualifying session as we then get towards that 45-minute race.
Yeah, and with the sort of chaos level of last week's race, I got to think that, regardless of where you qualify, you're going to want to be near the front to avoid some of the mess that we saw last week. But I also think that there were a few hands slapped last time around, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think we saw massively messy racing, but of course you've got to stay on top of that sort of thing with a field like this and with how close the cars want to race to keep it enjoyable and close and fair and clean racing.
Yeah, 2 guys missing the qualifying today. We got Paulo Coimbra and Tom Maton skipping qualifying and starting from the pits, so you won't see them out on the field today.
So about to get the first qualifying times in as you see the drivers crossing the start-finish line here at Barber Motorsports Park. And first time to the board, Joshua Soto. He gets pipped on the first run by Nicolas Puzzo. And there's a few others that maybe just more carefully building their way up into it, like we saw at Daytona. These tyres are not lap 1 wonders. Lap 3, lap 4 in these qualifying sessions, you still keep finding more speed. So maybe more gently building your way into it. Track limits, I think, a little more challenging here than at Daytona.
Yeah, Bryce Pudo's trying out the edges of the track there, but he put in a heck of a first sector, so it was for good cause. We saw him doing a fair bit of weaving on the opening lap, on the warm-up lap, and we saw a few cars doing that. Pretty good second sector there. He's running into this turn 10-11 complex here that's a little bit tricky. Good place to jump and take a lot of curb, but kind of a risky place. If you jump a little too much, you can get yourself slowed down. A little bit squirrely through 11, but he manages to hold on to it. Doesn't use all the runoff that's available on the outside of that curb.
Get a sense for the scale of some of the curbs around here for sure, with his little Mazda MX-5 Cup car. A style of racing, kind of a blend of Spec Miata and the global Mazda MX-5 Cup Series, sort of the character of a little bit of both, and drivers familiar with both on the grid as well.
Yeah, solid lap there. 37.168 for Rice Puto there. Jumping now to our open leader. Currently leading the pack is Daniel Hall in the blue car there. That's a pretty solid lap from him first time around, a 138.2. We're seeing the leaders just barely starting to scratch those 36s in the pro class, but in the open category, a low 38 might be all it takes today, based on what we were seeing in practice.
19 of 29 drivers with a qualifying time at the moment. Curtis M. Jones has just gone up top on 37.051. One of the drivers we saw challenging for the race win at Daytona, and that's where the pit stop strategy of the 45-minute race maybe became a tiny bit of an undoing for this guy and his teammate. So we'll see if Barber Motorsports Park rights that wrong. Thing about race cars is you got to have fuel in them.
Yeah, and it was a real good scene at the line there when when the other three cars came flying by, making it 3 wide as he was running out of fuel there, going across the start-finish line. It was a good time, but fuel could be a factor here today too as well. I think I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. You know,
absolutely, still more improvement. Most of these drivers either just finishing their third lap, or I think in Mike Dam's case here, just starting his fourth flying lap.
Yeah, Dam had a real strong showing at the first race. My Canadian boy, got a cheer for that, and managed to take the lead with a really kind of calculated move towards the end of the race. He's holding on to the first.
He's gone to the top of qualifying, and he's improving on this lap as well. Kosick with improvement as well, I think. 2 purple sectors in a row for Mike Dam. He's laid down 3 laps to get him to where he is right now, and now it's all go, full commitment on this lap, trying to just absolutely attack Barber Motorsports Park. Look at him over the curbs here. Yep. And then into the next part, you drop down aggressively, pick back up, go over a blind crest, and then into an almost never-ending sequence of right-handers. He wants some of that curb. He's down the hill. He's at the apex curb there. The track and the world drop away from you. And then it's 3 right-hand apexes in a row, just matching his best sector through the middle there. So this is still up if he just gets this final corner right. The track limits are grass here, as they should be. And that looked pretty millimeter perfect. This is the last of his 4 laps. This is the best opportunity. And does he improve from a 36.7?
He does.
He does, to a 36.5.
Oh, that was really well done from him. As you said, millimeter perfect around the track.
No other purple sectors anywhere else out on the timing screen as well, but plenty of drivers looking to improve. Plenty of drivers have now finished their 4th of 4 laps and won't be able to eclipse Mike Dam.
Yeah, Ronnie Coates, Coates rather, is out there circulating around. Not having the best first half of this lap, but he's put up a quick one already with a 36.8.
He's got plenty of time left after his 4th flying lap to just bring it around to the pit lane. I'm pretty sure I see it's done 4. Lombardi's on lap number 3. Michael Coates is on lap number 3 and found a purple second sector. So Coates, we saw half a bumper away from the race win at Daytona. Well, he's 16th right now, but the way that this lap, his 3rd flying lap of qualifying, is tracking, maybe expect to see him on the front row.
Yeah, he's looking quick through the first half. Everyone seems to be struggling a bit going down the hill.
This part of the lap. Pit entry in a interesting place there in the penultimate corner on the outside, and you sometimes see drivers carry a load of speed in there and then shoot for the pit entry. Keep an eye on that one. Pit entry is challenging here with Armco either side of it. So lap 3 complete for Coates, and it puts him to 8th, and he's still got one more in him, but he just kisses the grass on the exit of the 1. This lap will still count, but I'm not sure that's the quickest way through 1. Front left tyre takes a beating through, I think they call it 2 and 3 there. It's more than 180 degrees of rotation.
Yeah, he paid for that sloppy middle sector, like I was saying. So it's going to be key to see, I think, how he handles the downhill at 7 and manages to clean up for whatever happened there in the first sector.
Still matches his best first sector of a 23.9. So what about here? So challenging because you're kind of braking as you throw the car over the curbs on the way in, tightens into a hairpin in the 3rd segment of the corner, and you say hello to the museum, I guess, where there is lots and lots of interesting stuff. And again, only matching but not improving on his previous best in the car. The Delta will probably say he's about 1/10 down, and he'll be thinking, is there a 10th I can pick up that I held back in this final sector? Well, he's not holding back on the track limits, that's for sure.
This long sweeping right-hander, it's always hard to tell. Gets it back to the apex, but has a little slide going through the middle. Oh, and another drift through that corner. I'm not sure he got it all the way to the apex again. Run to the line.
This is not going quicker for Michael Coates.
Oh, it's a close call there.
So he stays 9th on the grid, and I'm not sure I see anyone else on track with laps left. Kind of confused about Odyssey Adams Jr.
I think he's on his 5th lap by my count.
Yeah, I think he might have, on one of the previous laps, ended up in the Armco.
Oh yeah, I had a reset in there maybe. I've had four counting laps though for him. I think that might be it.
Now, I was looking at stint length, not laps counted, and the stint length says he's just left pit lane. So if you'd maybe binned it on the 3rd flying lap, that's actually the end of your qualifying, but it'll still let you leave pit lane, but that out lap kind of becomes your 4th lap potentially.
Yeah. Mike Dam puts it back up on the pole though again with that 36.5. Really strong effort from him. Just barely a 10th off of what we saw in open practice, where he presumably had a little bit of draft. And then he's closely followed by Curtis Jones, and I see why Odyssey's out on track. He's practicing that pit entry. It's committed, the little thing. And I like how he's using the grass on the outside on the way into the 2nd section there.
Yeah, my man is using the speedway line on the pit entry there. It's all fair game. It's all racetrack, and it's all racing until you get to those yellow cones that denote the start of the 45-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit. And these cars do have a pit lane speed limiter now. I feel like they didn't used to back in the days when they had the H-pattern gearbox, but now they're a lot more race car underneath with a sequential gearbox and a pit lane speed limiter, unless I'm wrong.
No, I believe they do. Yeah. And we're getting confirmation from our production crew that we have not imagined the pit lane speed limiter. See Michael Coates back out there again. He's only got 2 registered laps. I think he's all done though, right?
Yeah, he's not going to get to that pit entry to test it out, I don't think. Pit exit nowhere near as challenging as pit entry. It should be said. Pit exit is you get to the green cones, you flick the limiter off, and you just feed right back out into the exit of turn 2 on the outside. It's that pit entry where You take a weird angle in, and you got 2 corners and no room for error as well with Armco either side of it. Let's take a look at the grid for race 2, the Spec-5 World Tour this season from Barber Motorsports Park. Mike Dam is showing them all how it's done at the moment, and he has the pole position on the front row for the rolling start as they get ready for their formation lap. Curtis Jones is going to be alongside him. Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbett are row number 2. Nick Rasputo and Simon Foweather are row number 3. And the letter before the drivers' names indicates what class they're in, be it pro or open. All pro drivers in the top 10 with row 4, Cody Johnson and Chris Brunemer. Row 5, Michael Coates and Joshua Soto. Behind them, Ken Copeland, Odyssey Adams Jr., row 6, row 7, Ray Lombardi and Jordan Rick-Sagrini. Rick Coimbra is in 15th, and Andrew Gilliland, the race winner in open class from Daytona, has the pole at Barber in that class. See Brian Zabelski, Sean Hayes, Trevor Roy and Geordie Fike. Gilliland has a bit of space to the next open class competitor, which is Andy Kosick. You see Eugenio Polici, Daniel Hall, Josh Olson, Lee Martin, Derek Putnam is the last driver with a qualifying time. None for Tom Athon, and it was who were our drivers instructed not to qualify because they're going to be pit lane starting. Paolo Coimbra was one. The other was Tom Athon. So no qualifying time from Jerry DiPiero, even though he might have been allowed to do so.
Yeah, those two will be starting from the pit lane. We'll see if Jerry ends up putting it in on the back of the grid there.
What did we make of the pit strategy at Daytona then, and how could Barber be different? I think they're less dependent on the pack racing, but still the same thing is at play, where if you feel like you're being held up in the traffic, you might want to pit early. If you feel like you're working well in a group, you might want to stay out longer.
Yeah, the pit lane entry was definitely aggressive at Daytona there, and also I think you're right in saying that the draft is going to be a little bit less significant here. It definitely helps down the straightaways, but there's so many varied corners and there's such long corners that by the time you get through them, much of the advantage that you would have had from drafting someone has kind of gone away. And while there is some passing opportunities around here, especially on the entry to those corners, the length of the corners is such that, you know, the advantage kind of goes away by the time you get to the exit.
Got a Porsche for our pace car. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of Porsches at the Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum on the outside of Turn 10. There's also a lot of motorbikes there.
600. It's the largest collection in the world. There's 1,400 in the back and 600 on display at any given time.
Hey, Devin, where would you go if you needed parts for a historical vintage Porsche?
Well, once I had been caught trying to steal the parts from the Barber Motorsports Museum, I would probably go to AussieSales.com for all that is Porsche. Aussie has thousands of parts available for virtually any Porsche model, providing high quality service with a personal approach, and with worldwide shipping available, you won't need to go anywhere else, not even to the museum. Visit AussieSales.com today.
So I would first go to RC Sales, but then I would later definitely still check out the museum. They've got over 97 Harley Davidsons in the collection. I'm looking at the website right now.
Yeah, it's definitely on the list. I haven't gotten out here in a champ car yet, but it's one I'd like to do. That's for sure.
They're very particular about their grass, apparently, and it does look beautiful. It's golf course fresh. With just as many hazards as well. Spiders, gremlins, massive ants trying to drink cola beverages. We'll see. They're in the final complex of corners now. You're going to see that pit entry when the pace car goes there. The field instructed to hold their rows through the final section of the circuit, looking for the green flag to get 45 minutes of Spec-5 World Tour racing underway. Barney's holding up the green flag. He drops it and the clock starts now. How's the jump from your pole sitter? Got a big move there to go 3 wide, just behind. Turn 1, the track dropped away. That is a big move.
Nick Rice-Puto shoving it up the inside there. That was something else.
Very quickly becomes the outside for the very long turns 2 and 3 here as the track just keeps on turning right. This is a track that really hurts the left-hand side tyres. Curtis Jones to the lead then. Here's Mike Dam looking to get it back. Rice-Puto's got a good move here as well. 2 wide, 3 wide all through the field. Track drops away. The braking zone runs on and you really, really need to get that car stopped early to turn in there. So good so far. Dan back to the lead. I've jinxed it. Rice-Puto's made 3 positions, but there are 2 cars in the Armco on the exit of the hairpin.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a report. That's Odyssey Adams and Josh Soto. That's a real heartbreaker for the 2 of them. They were having a pretty clean start up until that point, but it looks to me like Soto gets a little loose and then Odyssey gets a lot loose when he puts the outside tires into the grass. Kind of one of those racing deals. 2 guys a little bit out of control makes 2 cars go into the Armco.
It's that grass, isn't it? Car on the outside just got a tiny lick of it, and that certainly helps get them around. Oh, and there's off on the grass. You talk about you come over the crest there. The track drops away from you, and it's one of the Pacific Sim cars that's ended up out there.
That's Cody Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Cody Johnson, who's gotten a little bit wrong, sliding off the track there. Cody, one of the 2 drivers we saw doing some really impressive team driving at Daytona last week. His friend, Chris Brennemer, just up the track there. We'll see if the 2 of them are able to do any more of that today.
First lap completed. I think I saw a move happening in the background there, but Mike Dam absolutely not able to get away with the race lead at the moment. I think Rice-Puto has been so aggressive moving forward in the first lap. Very, very briefly looked to lead.
As you're watching Mike Dam driving along here, you might be wondering why he's got the red numbers and the rest of them got the black numbers. It is worth mentioning that the red colored numbers indicate the current leader in the points in the pro class, and the blue numbers indicate the current leaders in the open class. And then the gold, silvers, and bronze, well, that's for the folks who support this wonderful league. So keep it up and let's get back to the racing.
It's Jones looking to get side by side, drops back into that 3rd place. Leading trio for Mike Dam and Nick Rice-Puto. They might want to get away with this, but for Curtis Jones, he wouldn't mind if his teammate in that group behind came up to the leaders. Johnson running in 10th at the moment after dropping a spot or 2 going wide off the track. But he's still in the train at the moment. It's almost unbroken through the top 12, and then there's a little bit of a gap between Ray Lombardi in 12th and Sean Hayes 13th. Here's your open class leader looking to make some moves. Andrew Gilliland, I think, getting past pro driver Geordie Fike there, and now they're side by side behind him coming down the pit straight. Rui Coimbra looking to move forward.
Feels good to be a sim guy passing a real guy, a real car guy, you know? But a little bit wide there from Gilliland. He might pay the price for this one. Geordie keeping it stuck to the inside.
Gino Polici looks to get to the inside of Gilliland in the sort of Brumos Porsche tribute livery. But Gilliland on the inside coming down the hill here. There's the spider. Or as I'd call it, a spider, mate.
I can't tell if yours are more scary than that big one on the side there. Who knows?
Oh, it depends if they surprise you or not. This is a challenging place to go side by side, though, in towards the museum turns here. You're so committed as you launch over the curbs, braking as you bounce over the curbs and descend downhill into a hairpin. And then to run off there keeps you pretty well flat out through this next chicane where they can get a bit of the curb. So it almost makes it one flat out back stretch, but where you can only go single file through the little kink in the middle. And then we've seen already the challenge at the exit of this corner over the crest presents.
Yeah, and this really is a real corner in these cars because without any downforce, to speak of, that was Gilliland getting a little bit loose there. Seems like he's struggling a bit in the middle of the corners right now. But without any downforce to speak of, that section of the track really kind of becomes a really finessey bit. You got to get the car right loaded up to the limit, and you can't let it go too far.
A lot of brake light past the apex there. Not necessarily a good sign of a stable car, but it's an exciting one nonetheless here. In 15th outright, the open class leader got a couple cars until the next driver in class, Josh Olsen's, moved forward off this race start. In fact, there's a great open class battle there with Olsen, Kosick, Daniel Hall, Jerry DiPiero, and Derek Putnam. You can spot Kosick there in his trademark mint. Like he's side by side with Daniel Hall at the moment, who might have the slightly better run. That's Olsen just in front of them. Nope, I'd prefer to be where Kosick is at the moment going into this corner.
Yeah, and he shows you why, as he takes the spot pretty easily going in. Daniel Hall has to take a little bit of evasive action at the bottom, locking it up and getting it sideways. Kosick, pretty familiar face to us folks here on HJBC, racing in both of the series that we've currently got featured on the channel.
Indeed, that little battle's dropped them a couple car lengths from Olsen, who's trying to go with some of the pro drivers there, Brian Zabelski, Trevor Roy. Andrew Gilliland might have dropped another one, so not out of the question that they start catching him, as you can see Piero in behind that as well. So two great battles happening at the same time, still a while away from that pit window properly opening. Drivers trying to position themselves before they get to that phase of the race. Out front, Dan Rasputo, but behind that, Camden Hibbert wants to take away third from Curtis Jones, but he's going to be on the outside to the hairpin.
That's a tough place to be. But looks like he's got a little bit of help from behind. Ronnie Coates decided he didn't want anything to do with that and going up the inside in 5 there. And Camden's going to get a pretty good push on Curtis Jones here as they exit towards 7. Leaves a little bit of room as they pop the curbs down the hill. And I was going to say earlier that it looked like the leaders might be breaking away a bit, but this pack from first all the way back to 10th place just has formed up and is drafting along with each other.
Yeah, they're motoring for sure, and it's so difficult to make a breakaway in these cars. Dam really controlling the race, it must be said, but you see an off-track mistake that costs him 3 seconds would cost him 7 positions the way they go at the moment.
Tough moment in the background there for Rick Segrini in that baby blue car. Got all 4 wheels off in the grass going through 11 and... or 12 rather, on the exit, and just didn't have a real shot to keep it straight. So that's cost him a few car lengths, and he had just made a few up trying to get onto the back of that pack. And then ahead of him, we just had a big moment. That looked like Michael Coates in the wall on the outside of 1.
It is, and there's massive damage. So let's take a look at what happened in the leading group. And towards turn 1, he goes, rear is already gone on turn, and he's turned in right as the car is light on the crest before turn 1. And he has had, I believe the kids call, a big lick.
And that's just a heartbreaker. That's one of those spins that I feel like happens in iRacing more than almost in the real cars, because you can't feel the angular momentum of how you're sliding through the wheel. You can only feel that you're sliding. And so you don't know quite how much steering angle to put back in it to catch it. And you end up overcorrecting it straight into the wall. That'll be a blow to his title aspirations.
Yeah, he's now 29th and dead last. You can see 3rd and 4th trying to stop the leaders getting away. Camden Hibbert again bumping Curtis Jones to try to get up towards Mike Dam and Nick Rasputo.
Camden really hungry for that to get back up into that leading pack there. Maybe showing a little bit of his youthful exuberance. One of the youngest drivers in the series, I believe.
It's it would be a competition between Hibbett and Gilliland potentially, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I want to say Camden's 14. I'll double check that.
With the greatest of respect, when we spoke to Andrew Gilliland after last race, he didn't sound like he could be much older than that. and if he is, he'll be young all his life. To be so blessed.
You're here.
So you can see your first and second there. Not quite getting away from the rest of the field. Curtis Jones, Cams and Hibbett, and then behind that, Ronnie Coates, Simon Foweather, bit of a local boy. Chris Brunemer, Cody Johnson, Ken Copeland. In fact, I think everyone from Alabama gets put in the Club Mid-South on iRacing. So that would be Foweather, Trevor Roy, just the two of them.
Yeah, good company, you know. Oh, it's getting a little spicy back in the field there. That looked like Andrew Cossack was having a move up the inside.
Yeah, there was some movement in that part of the field.
Oh, and I was being tricked. It was Josh Soto who was having a bit of a move there. It's getting a little bit spicy back here. There's kind of some pro cars that are catching up to some of the front end of the open field. Open field's got Josh Olson and Daniel Hall looking at each other. Hall kind of deking at Olson. That's for second and third place in open right now. But behind them, they have Josh Soto and Odyssey, who kind of want to make it by. Oh, wow. It's getting real close in the middle of that pack. Oh, and they're checking up. No one can decide where to go. Josh Soto has a run. He doesn't know where to go. Odyssey doesn't know where to go. Odyssey decides discretion is the better part of valor and just backs way the heck out of it. Soto's on the inside line, but he's not sure it's going to be the fast line until the exit.
Turn 2, turn 3 has a couple of different lines. Some drivers sort of take two apexes and get out wide in the middle of the corner. Some hug the inside the whole way around, and the driver hugging the inside all the way around thought they smelt an opportunity. And certainly there are some, but it's a risky game being played in this part of the field, predominantly amongst our open class drivers, but also Joshua Soto, outright one of the quickest drivers in the field. Remember, he was sideways on the exit of the turn 5 hairpin on lap 1. He's trying to come back through the field, but it's tough to do when they're trying to go 3 wide in front of you.
Yeah, and he hasn't had to go and stop for damage, so he's got a little bit on the rear bumper there, but I think he's managed to keep it pretty clean. Oh, it's getting spicy. Takes up the inside and takes a lot of curb to make it work. And meanwhile, Odyssey's kind of getting boxed out here. Has to take evasive action with Hall on the inside there. But he'll have the inside going onto the straight, gets the better run. And Hall's going to give up a spot here by the looks of things to Lee. That's Derek Putnam, who's pulled up beside him now in that sort of dark green, almost Aston Martin green kind of colored car. Oh, and that's a lot of curb on the inside of turn 1. He puts it up on 2 wheels. I bet you that was a pucker moment for him.
Soto's past here. It's Josh Olson now in front of Daniel Hall, side by side with Putnam. Oh, and that's off the road. But luckily, that's part of the short B layout there. Mm-hmm. Finds a little bit of pavement. They'll straighten it back out.
Josh Olson kind of rejoined the racing line there in front of Andy Cossack, and I think spooked Cossack a little bit. Surprised you didn't see him. That Mosman car is pretty shiny in in the sunlight there. Up at the front, we got Sean Hayes making a heck of a move on Rick Segrini. I'm not sure why he's slowing so much. He must have had a slowdown going through 11. Way off the pace though. And Odyssey's now right up on the back of Rick Segrini here, and this will be for position. Oh, and Rick Segurini's taking the early pit stop. Interesting. I think that'll be our first scheduled pit stop. The window's really wide here.
There's also a bit of damage there. Might be just thinking, let's get that done with an early stop. And again, 45 miles an hour on the pit lane is pretty quick. So I think the total delta, the total loss, is not so great.
Yeah, I want to say on the stopwatches. Oh, interesting.
I feel like the level of confusion and surprise in my voice threw me up at like another 2 octaves there, but I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling too. I'm sure the pit window's open because, well, that's what it says in our race notes, and that's going to really cost him there. I wonder if he just didn't know. With Daytona, the pit window was a little bit deeper into the race. Hard to say. Meanwhile, checking back in at the front of things, Mike Dam still holding off Nick Rice-Puto and Camden Himmett in third. He's made his way around Curtis Jones while we've been following the open battles further back. But there hasn't really been any separation. Mike Dam's still holding at the front of what is now a pack of about 7 cars who are all racing together here for the lead.
Ray Lombardi pits from 10th, so that goes with your suggestion that the pit window is open.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he's just going to stop and go. Guess that is a possibility too. Well, no, because Gilliland would have had a penalty if he had to stop and go. So I don't know. Curious though. Ray Lombardi stopping, taking some fuel by the looks of things. I guess this gets to be our first official scheduled stop of the race.
16 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Pretty.
So if I got this right, Simon Foweather's actually got the fastest lap of the race at the moment.
I think that's what mine is saying.
Yeah.
36.453. Quick on the track there. Kind of what that draft could do for you. Unfortunately for him, he's about 2 seconds off the lead right now, so he needs to stack a few of those in a row.
Yeah.
But I will also say that we did see Mike Dam play this strategy to perfection at Daytona last week, where he kind of sat in the back half of the field and just, didn't have any cares in the world for the first half, it seemed, and then all of a sudden in the second half of the race, he was right up there, racy as heck.
Yeah, I mean, he's not far behind Ronnie Coates. He's not far behind Curtis Jones. He's not far behind Camden Hibbett, who's with the leading duo there as well. And some hint that Hibbett and Jones willing to work together to not let first and second break away.
Yeah, those two have been kind of doing their own take on the team driving that we saw from Jones and I want to say Brennemer last week. Those two Hibbett and Jones are collaborating pretty closely, though they got a few car lengths between them now. Pretty much all the top 10, though, is more or less in it. Ken Copeland and Cody Johnson have kind of fallen off the back a little bit, running in 8th and 9th right now. But the two of them are still running clean. I think they just, and even last time they were about, less than a 10th off the lead. So, they're still in the picture here, though they're going to have to pull things up a little bit if they want to make this work. It will be interesting to see if anyone tries the undercut this week. There is tires available, of course, but it's hard to say if it'll be worth it. There is a fair amount of drop off from the start of the stint to the end of the stint by the looks of things.
Left side tires just get mercilessly slaughtered around here. You've got turns 2 and 3 where it just keeps going. Then you get around to the museum turn, then also the final complex. Again, it just keeps turning right in sort of medium speed corners. So here, for example, I mean, it just keeps going all the way through.
Well, and one of the things that's really easy to do in sim racing is if you don't have your wheel settings quite right, or you have a relatively weak wheel like my little poor G27 over here, you can kind of over crank the wheel and just burn off the right front by understeering it all around, all over the place, or left front in this case. And yeah, you can definitely pay for it over the long run if you're not careful. Front of the field's kind of packing back up. About a car length between all of them at this point. And they're a little more spread out than that. I kind of wonder if some of these folks are starting to think pit lane, getting a little bit deeper into the stint here. I'd say the far end of the pit window is going to be around maybe lap 20. So we're kind of right in the middle right now.
We always say very close and evenly matched in this car. Small margins to separate drivers, and if you pit early from this group, the 40-second pit lane cost is going to drop you right in and amongst the other battles. They don't have enough separation to pit and come out in any clean air, so I think that forces at least everyone in our sort of leading 6 and 7 here to stay out long if they're aware of that, because 29 seconds back puts them with the group of 18th, Derek Putnam, Lee Martin, Andy Cosick. 35 seconds back would mix them up with open class drivers Josh Olsen and Tom Athon. There is no clear track in the window that the pit stop would put them.
Yeah, you're probably right about all that. I wonder if they have the ability to see all that. Oh, things are getting a little spicy in turn 1, though. Let's take a look over there. I'm seeing, that looked like Sean Hayes had to take some evasive action while Josh Soto was pointed nearly backwards through turn number 1. Got it kind of wrong. Takes a lot of curb. And then you see him on the right-hand side, now left-hand side there, sliding. He keeps it off the wall. That was some skillful driving to make up for what was a pretty bad mistake through turn number 1 there. Good job by Josh keeping it safe and keeping it clean. And that'll have put him a little bit further back down the order. Josh struggling a bit with consistency today, and a bit out of character for how we usually see him go around the track. He's another guy that we see from time to time over in the Champ Car Racing Series that we cover on HJBC here. Leaders are going past the pit lane again right now. Not seeing any takers, though. Still that top 6 staying real close together. Top 7.
Yeah, Chris Brunham are trying to go with, and he was about a second off, and he's managed to get back in. It's Cody Johnson and Ken Copeland who are on the outside looking in at the moment. They're just a little bit too far back there in 8th and 9th at the moment.
Yeah, that was going to say heck of a lap there from Chris Brennemer last time by 36.5. Manages to make 3/10 on Mike Dam up at the front, and I think doing that with a little bit of help from the draft, but not a ton. So really clean stuff from him at this phase of the race. And again, getting a real nice run through 5. If there's any corner on the track that matters how you get the exit, it's 5. You know, you got to really, really nail that time and getting back to the throttle, because if you're a half second late, you're you're a whole second late by the time you get to the far end of the straight. And he's right back on the rear bumper of 6th place there, Simon Fullweather.
Bryce Puto in second came across to try to defend from Camden Hibbert, who was right at his rear bumper. It gives just a couple of free car lengths to Mike Dam in the race lead. He'd probably be pretty happy to see that behind him at this point in the race, past the halfway. So I wouldn't be surprised to start to see another wave of more pit stops here. Pit entries at this part of the track. None of them going for it just yet here.
Yeah, there's a couple people that took it a slightly different line, but it's all just variation. This track really good for that. Nice wide racing lines, and you can kind of make your own way. You see more of it on the bikes when they're around here, but it works a little bit in the cars too. Oh, and Mike Dam kind of gets a little bit of wrong going into 1 there that time. And we got a little bit of drama further back. That's Ronnie Coates going up the inside of Curtis Jones by the look of things, taking that spot away. So Coates now up into 4th place. These tires might be starting to go away for these guys. Oh, and a big move there. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, I don't think that was intentional by Full Weather.
Dives in, almost picks off too, makes a little bit of door-to-door contact, and then runs it out wide. Curtis Jones cuts back underneath. Ronnie Coates goes through. Yeah, I'm not sure Full Weather quite meant for it to play out like that. Now your top three are getting away from this group. Dan Rice-Puto and Hibbett almost clear unless Jones, Coates and Full Weather settle it down and close that gap back up.
Yeah, that might be a sheepish look on Simon Full Weather's face there. I think he missed his breaking point, and he did a good job of gathering it back up, but not without causing a little bit of chaos there on the back half of the top 8. And this time we'll see. Now they've got about a second gap between themselves and the guys ahead. And again, we saw Coates this time have to really kind of swing it around in the middle of the corner, unsettle the car almost to get it to rotate through that right-hander. I think that left front might be going away on a few of these cars.
Track temperatures are pretty cold, but it's relentless around here. The corners just keep coming. We're more than a mile shorter than Daytona, but with more corners, basically.
Mm-hmm. Bit of a run here for Ronnie Coates as they come up the hill. Looks like he's opting to stay on the racing line. Oh, no, he tricks him, goes back the inside. Doesn't quite manage to hold it, though. He gets himself in a bit of trouble here on the exit of 5. Full Weather's going to have a bit of a run. So now he'll maybe be able to make good on that pass. Don't want to be on the outside, though, going in 7.
No, that'll really feed you out wide across the nasty bit of the curve, across the grass, where a couple of drivers have been, and there is a slowdown out there as well. You can't cut that corner and get away with it. Cars looking not as responsive and not quite as more settled as the drivers had them early.
Mm-hmm. Full Weather have to play a little bit of defense there.
Brunema pushing him along.
Yeah. They've decided to settle things back down. Gap's even bigger this time by, though. I'd say that's closer to a second and a half as they go into the final set of corners here. And they're all kind of waiting, I think. When is Dan going to decide to make his move, and who goes with him? This window is going to be closing soon. We're getting down to 15 minutes before the race ends.
Lower fuel consumption track, obviously, than the Daytona International Speedway, seeing them go a little bit longer into this race before they get to that pit window. Highest running driver who has stopped is Ray Lombardi, 20th outright, 48 seconds away from the overall lead. We expect the pit lane loss to be about 40. So he could shoot back up the order once they all pit. Not really in contention for the race win here, given how much further the leaders are ahead of that. But 20th is not representative for the moment.
Again, a little bit of drama there between Coates and Full Weather. Coates kind of takes a funny line going into 5 there, kind of turns it in really, really late. And Full Weather just sees an opening, I think, up the inside. And then Coates kind of chops the nose. And Full Weather has to take evasive action. They're getting a little dramatic. These are MX-5s.
So half a second to cover your top 3, then 2.5 seconds back to this group here with Jones, Coates, Full Weather and Brunema. Still expecting a big wave of pit stops anytime soon. And Mike Dam has basically led every single lap of this race so far. How's his pit stop time going to compare to those who've been riding the train behind? Did I see Hibbett go for the lane? I did. I see Full Weather go for the lane. It starts now.
Yeah, first couple takers, Full Weather maybe deciding he doesn't want to have anything to do with that little battle ahead of them. And Camden Hibbett deciding to go and be the first one. So will there be an undercut here? That's really the question. Are there any tires to be taken? And if so, which ones?
So just Hibbett and Full Weather on the lane. Hibbett overshoots the pit box, and that's going to cost him easily 2 or 3 seconds. No hints of jacking the car up from either. Fuel only as Polici, Roy, and Open class leader Andrew Gilliland comes in behind as well. Sean Hayes, Daniel Hall in pit lane 2. Hibbett and Foweather both get away with 16 seconds of stop time, but Hibbett's lane time is going to be an extra 2 seconds or so from just that little overshoot.
Yeah, and you can definitely see it in the gap between the two of them as they exit the lane. Meanwhile, up at the front, things between Coates and Brunnemer are getting a little bit spicy. Brunnemer gets a bit of a run out of 7 here. We'll see if he's got enough to challenge him down the back straight. And noticing on the telemetry that Curtis Jones has dropped off pretty significantly.
No, it was Hibbett in 3rd, and he came into the pit lane.
Oh, that's all it was, yeah. So they had the group before.
And the other takers this time around, though, really would expect it. They're all way, way wider in that corner, signaling pit in. Race leader followed in by 2nd place. 3rd, 4th, and 5th were all tracking for it as well.
6th and 7th, too.
Pit crews and how much fuel they've got to take.
Yeah, the whole front end of the field has suddenly decided it's time for a pit. And so this is a pretty critical outlap, and Camden Hibbett's kind of nailing it. He's got a pretty big gap between himself and Foweather. Managed to get around a little bit of that traffic we were maybe worried about. Hibbett's coming into the final corner right now as these guys are just rolling to a stop.
One thing I did notice on the pit exit from Hibbett is he slotted in just ahead of Simon Foweather, who hasn't stopped yet. So he had, in all of those laps, built out enough time that he didn't get caught by any traffic that was running longer than him. Here's Mike Dam. I don't have a stop time for him, but he's out ahead of Bryce Pudo. Hibbett, that little overshoot in the pit lane has obviously cost him the 2 or 3 seconds. He's not with Dam and Rice Pudo. He's back with Jones and Coates and Brunemer.
Oh, that's tough for him. One tiny little incident on the pit lane, and there you go. Had a little bit of a drama there while those guys were in the pit lane. By the looks of things, that was Jordan Fike facing the wrong way in the final corner, but he's gotten things back going again. Made his stop. I think he was trying to kind of take a slightly different line. Carried a little bit too much into the last corner is what it was, and got all 4 tires on the grass, slid it around.
Yeah. Out wide over the crest through the grass, and then taking the pit entry after that for his stop. I think I see only Andy Cosick and maybe Derek Putnam to stop at the moment. Everyone else has done it with 12 minutes to go. There'll be 8 laps of Barber. Mike Dam and Nick Rice-Pudo, they've got 4 seconds over the rest of the field after Hibbett's pit lane mishap.
Yeah, I think that cooling the tires did make a difference, but don't know if it was enough of a difference.
Here we go for the race lead. Nick Rice-Pudo looking down the inside at turn 1, had the nose ahead, makes the corner, and he now leads Mike Dam back in a 2nd place position he's been relatively unfamiliar with so far this race. Could it be the duel now for the race win between these 2 drivers?
10 minutes to go. Let's see what Rice-Pudo's got. He's been rolling in the background for this whole race, but he's decided he wants his shot at the spotlight.
It's showtime. He looked to maybe defend at turn 5 as he was going down the straight, keeping drivers left beforehand, but he holds the race lead for the moment.
Yeah, Dam running his regular line. Rice-Pudo diving off to the side to avoid giving the little bit extra, but he takes a lot of curb over 7. I'm not sure how far out you can go before you get yourself a slowdown, but I gotta think that was about as far as he could go.
He almost broke the lead out to 8 tenths, but then it's flat out through here. It's one line. The driver behind gets the slipstream down to 6 tenths, 5 tenths, and that's why it's so tough to make a breakaway. Even here, it was bordering on impossible at Daytona.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see here. Rice-Pudo's running well, but I think Dam might just have enough through the last corner there. Really kind of closed him down with the apex speed. And again, a little bit more weaving here from Rice-Pudo. He's trying to break that draft really hard. Not quite enough, though.
They're all a little slower than the fastest laps of the race. So without any tyres and with a little bit more fuel on board, they've become just a tad more sluggish, including this next group from third place back. Cairns and Hibbett is under pressure from Curtis Jones, Simon Foweather. And they have another nasty little check up there, like we've seen happen before from Foweather to Coates to Brunema in this group.
Yeah, Coates really seems to value kind of that slightly different line, and I think it throws the guys around him off. They're just not quite prepared for it. Oh, and Coates takes a big shot going down the hill there from Brennemer. Brennemer was trying to really jump the curb on the left-hand side, and Coates was kind of doing a little bit more controlled on the way in and just got punted halfway down the hill.
Yeah, classic little concertina effect fender bender on the way through that corner. You throw in with so much speed and you're committed across the curbs and trying to slow down before the hairpin. 2 tyres in the grass is the trend, apparently, there now, as every driver pushes just a little harder than we saw in the early stages of the race.
Now, interestingly, I'm checking in on the open class, and it looks like Andy Cossack has kind of gotten it all wrong on that pit stop. He stayed for only 16 seconds stationary and had a pretty fast stop, but somehow he's going to come out behind Daniel Hall and Andrew Gilliland by a pretty significant margin.
Yeah, Daniel Hall's the open class leader at the moment, and he's only 4 tenths ahead of Gilliland, so fight on here as well.
Yeah, the two of them have kind of been going back and forth at it, but it was for second and third before, and now it's for the win in the open class, first one in the season for either one. I take that back. Andrew Gilliland's looking to go back-to-back after their last week.
And there's no one directly in front here as well to give a slipstream to Hall. So Gilliland can play himself in, but they're towing a couple of other cars along there. 5 laps to go, and it's all to play for in the pro class, in the open class, for team points.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting tense just watching it. Barber Motorsports, such a driver's track, it's really kind of on the limit stuff, as we see Bryce Pudo showing us 2 tires in the grass, on the throttle, over the hill, and just barely holding on with Mike Dam breathing down his neck. And it's so hard to make a move, especially once you're both kind of on the far end of the tires. Bryce Pudo opting to swing around, try and break the draft again, and Dam just sticking on his line. And the two of them will have some lap traffic up ahead by the looks of things. I think that's Josh Olson from the open category that'll be coming up on in a few laps here.
I noticed Bryce Pudo taking the narrow lines in a couple of places around here, like there in turns 2 and 3, and like in the final sector as well. Just trying to defend from Dam, but it's not necessarily always the line that's nicest to the tyres or indeed the quickest line. And now he's defending the inside here as well. Just 1 car width there. Goes out a little wider on the exit. Dam is pointier on the exit, and Bryce Pudo almost just touching that grass on the exit. These are not the quickest lines, and he's feeling the pressure from Dam right now.
Yeah, that was I was surprised he didn't have to take a lift there. It was a wonder he didn't. But I listened on board, and it was wide, foot to the floor all the way out. But the car was sliding at the apex and sliding through the exit. No sure things here.
And they're not getting caught by the group behind despite these shenanigans.
Yeah, group behind's
leads that at the minute.
I say they're kind of having their own dramas there. Camden Hibbett been shuffled back to 4th, seeing that familiar bumper of Curtis Jones up ahead after the two of them spent some time together. Oh, Foweather gets all 4 tires off, and that's a dangerous place to do it. Does a good job to gather it back up, but that's going to cost him a spot, maybe 2, as he has to take evasive action from Ronnie Coates, and Chris Brennemer puts the squeeze on, but he's going to lose it. Oh, contact, right rear to left front, and Brennemer takes evasive action, and that's the end of Foweather. Oh, what a heartbreaker for him. He tows immediately back to the pits. Ooh, that's a hard one.
Battle's on for the open class here. Gilliland's trying to do a switchback on Daniel Hall in the final sector. Can we see a little bit of a repeat of the door banging in the final couple of corners? Gilliland knows what's at stake here with just 5 minutes left on the clock. There's some drivers behind in the pro class behind them. Joshua Soto and Sean Hayes having their own battle. And Gilliland needs to worry about that as well. We know Soto can be massively quick and is looking to get in between the two of them. Gilliland's either got to defend this for his life or let it go and hope that he can follow Soto up to his competitor in class.
Oh, it's so tough when you're in that scenario. You know, you got the pro driver knocking on the door. What do you do? What do you do?
He couldn't do a whole lot as it transpired. Now Soto's looking at Hall. Down the inside at the hairpin he goes, breaks later. So now back to status quo, nothing to separate Gilliland from Hall.
Yeah, as that battle carries on, things are still tight up at the front. Mike Downs now right on the rear bumper of Rice Puto and almost touches him going into the last corner there.
These are the tight lines that Rice Puto is driving again. You see he doesn't open up the inside there, but it lets Mike Dams swing out wide, cut back late, and carry more speed, defending as they pass the lapped car towards turn one. Rice Puto on the inside, Mike Dam around the outside. It's a super quick turn one, but now he's got this wide flowing line through the next corner as well.
Man, Rice Puto is just drifting that thing all over the place. He got so squirrely on the exit of 17 there that I didn't think he was going to be able to hold it. Cost him a little bit of momentum, and now he's letting Mike Dam up the outside, but still holding the desired line. Dam gets a little deeper on the brakes. It's not going to be enough, but the over-under might be, especially if Rice Puto drifts it like that. Oh!
Parks it in front of Mike Dam on the exit, who will not appreciate that, but it's absolutely gloves off in the battle for the race lead. Nick Rice Puto not showing Mike Dam the inside line anywhere they go. Mike Dam maybe getting a little more frustrated, and he's trying to find a racecrafty way to go outside, inside, cut back on him, carry more speed somewhere to make a pass stick. And Nick Rice Puto says, "Not today. I have the lead. The checkered flag only a couple minutes away. I want to hold on to this."
And I watched that back. Rice Puto did a really good job of just sticking that car right in the middle of two racing lines. You couldn't go inside. You couldn't go outside. What a quality bit of driving on a car that looks to be suffering a little bit on those tires.
And the irony of trying to hold back the dam, not vice versa, in the battle for the race lead. Clock says just 2 more laps of Barber left for Spec-5 World Tour Round 2. Rice Puto on the defensive immediately, all the way across the driver's left, then gives Dam just 1 car width around the outside of one, who again looks to cross back over under, wants the inside line to open up here, but Nick Rice Puto is wise to it, never opening up a car width down the inside in turns 2 and 3, or in the final couple of corners either. Every single corner they get to, he says, "You're not going to get the inside." Drives middle of the road here. Sam will look to go up the inside this time, knowing that was a weak corner for Rice Puto last time. He doesn't have Scott McLaughlin's push to pass to go around the outside, though.
Well, and meanwhile, as he looks around the outside, he's going to tuck back in. But Curtis Jones and Camden Hibbett are kind of right back in this. They're only a second back on the lead right now after those two have kind of been going really, really hard. So if they keep battling this hard, it's entirely possible that Curtis Jones and Camden Hibbett put themselves back in this battle in the last lap.
Should be no surprise that these lines from Nick Rice Puto are not the quickest. They're just they're engineered to keep Mike Dam behind. Curtis Jones, Camden Hibbett working together a little more nicely, but we're about to start the final lap. Are they close enough to play into this? You know that the aggression's going to ramp up another notch between Rice Puto and between Mike Dam, who wants to get past to make it 2 from 2 in the championship so far this season. There's the white flag, 2.27 miles for Rice Puto to try to defend.
If I'm on Mike's radio, I'm telling him to stop being Canadian for a lap and just go and put the bumper to him, make it happen.
Oh, I've seen a fair share of mean Canadian racing drivers. They've got a hockey streak in them when they need it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Curtis Jones and Camden Hibbett are still really tight. Jones gets a good run out of turn number 2. Rice Pudo's holding on the inside. It's hard to know where to look.
No one ever called Paul Tracy the ultimate gentleman, but Nick Rice-Pudo runs it a little bit wide. Mike Dam has the run again. Can he get the whole car length clear to chop back to the inside at turn 7, 7A, 7B? He wants to move Rice-Pudo across. He thinks he's firing up ahead, but is he? He's off out on the line.
Oh, no.
He's off the track. Is that going to be a slowdown penalty as Nick Rice-Pudo takes the inside? Mike Dam keeps the throttle in around the outside, almost gets shoved off the grass, and they are side by side. You can't go flat out side by side through here, so they're costing themselves time. Nick Rice-Pudo tries to hold on. Dam is behind him. Jones and Hibbett are in the fight now, the way that they're racing on the final lap. Rice-Pudo is just all defense. Dam looking to go late apex to carry through. It's a 4-way fight into the final corners at Barber Motorsports Park. Still on the narrow line, trying to defend. Dam not able to get around. Should he have swung out wide to the inside of the final corner? Can he get a run to the checkered flag out the final corner? Dam with a run. Rice-Pudo tries to block him. They touch. They rub, but Rice-Pudo holds on fair and square from Mike Dam and Curtis Jones.
Oh, heck of a finish between those two, and things have spread out a little bit in our open class lead. Daniel Hall's got a bit of a gap, but he's got one car ahead, Josh Soto, and he's going to need to hold on to it through the last corner. Andrew Gilliland throws all 4 tires off, and that might be the race. It is. Andrew Gilliland facing the wrong way. He'll need to get that thing pointed back around. Tragedy again for Andrew Gilliland here, as on the final lap he makes a little bit of a mistake, and that lets Andy Kosick in the open class and Tom Attone go by. That's going to be 4th place for Andrew Gilliland, giving up what was a sure thing in 2nd.
Well, we saw it from both classes. It was try to win it or nothing. Nick Rice-Pudo threw everything and the kitchen sink at trying to keep that race lead. Andrew Gilliland gave it everything on the final lap there, trying to be in position to challenge for the race lead. Different outcomes in the end, but absolutely thrilling racing again from the Spec-5 World Tour at Barber Motorsports Park. Looking at the results then for that outright win, Nick Rice-Pudo holding on against Mike Dam, Curtis Jones and Camden Hibbett behind that. Ronnie Coates, Chris Bunarunama, Ken Copeland, Cody Johnson, Ray Lombardi and Rui Coimbra as the top 10. Trevor Roy, Eugenio Pollicci and Joshua Soto, pro drivers through to 13th there, and then Daniel Hall came away with the open class win from Andy Kosick, Tom Aton and Andrew Gilliland, as he said. Odyssey Adams Jr., Brian Sabelski, sandwiched in between that, and Rick Segrini twice through the pit lane, methinks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for 20th outright. And then Derek Putnam, Lee Martin, Sean Hayes, Geordie Fike, Paulo Coimbra, Josh Olsen, Jerry DiPiero, Simon Foweather, and Michael Coates. I think we got about an hour and a half of action in 45 minutes there.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in the last half of the race. But that really is the Barber way. You know, guys will race nose to tail, waiting for someone to make a mistake. And when it comes down to it, sometimes you have to help the other guy make a mistake. It was close at the end there. A 10th separating first and second, 4 tenths separating the top 3. Ooh, that's good stuff.
You think that maybe Mike Dam wanted to play that championship game a little bit, like maybe there was one more notch on the attack that he held back, going, first and a second to open the season, not a bad way to go. I don't want to make this a DNF. Yeah,
or accumulate some extra penalty points. I mean, with the 2 we saw starting on the pit lane, you know how much of a problem those things can be over the course of a season. This is an F1 with your 20 points. 5 and you get a pit lane start.
Well, I suspect we can get to our race winner now. Nick Rice-Pudo will join us. And first of all, we got to offer congratulations. How long to wipe the sweat off the back of your neck from that?
I am leaking. That was a blast.
I think you might also have an incredible amount of Mike Dam's breath on it. But, I mean, talk us through then from the start of the race, letting Dam lead and trying to save it for that second stint.
Yeah, I was just trying to sit behind him and fuel save a bit just so I didn't get screwed out of the pit stop because Dam's usually pretty good at fuel saving. So I just did that, and then I figured I had the pace to get around him as long as I came out at least 1 second behind him in the pits.
How about the tires as well? Because it seems like a track that is you're really leaning on them more often than you're not. Even down the back straight where it's basically flat out, you've got to put some load on the tires through the chicane.
Yeah, I was really happy that it was just me and Mike for so long. That way we didn't have to, no pressure from behind, and we were able to preserve the tires a little bit better.
It looked like you were feeling a little bit nervy there on the second half of the race.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was driving in my mirror a bit.
Yeah, there was a couple moments where you were sliding at the apex and we are like, "Oh no, Mike's gonna get him this time." Did you ever feel like it was all lost?
When he got alongside me on the last lap, and I just had a headlight there, so he couldn't cover it off. That was when I was like, "Oh no, not again."
Oh, well, that was some good stuff, man. Thanks for coming out and putting on a good show for us tonight.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Well, and as I'm talking to Nick here, I've noticed that Mike's popped into the booth. We might be able to grab him as well. Is that Mike we got there?
Yes, sir.
Mike, heck of a race there for you. Looked like a sure thing in the first half, and then Nick managed to get around you, and you just couldn't find your way back, eh?
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of how a lot of these races go, but Nick was, biding his time all race. I could tell. I kind of got sucked into trying to get the two of us clear of the rest of the field, so I was kind of hammered down early, and then by that time I realized I'm not going to be able to save fuel, so I was worried about the stop there. So, but yeah, I don't know how my picker did it. Amazing stop. Got out in first, and then I kind of cut it tight, so I had to save a little bit.
We were wondering with how aggressively he was blocking you at points if you let that Canadian facade drop and maybe bring the hockey player to the field there. Were you thinking about giving the bumper at any point?
I usually try not to, but I felt like I gave him a few pretty good goes there, so he did a really good job blocking them. So especially the last lap, that was pretty insane.
That was really quality driving from the both of you guys, keeping it out of each other. First place and then a second place to start the season. You got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it's going my way so far. So just keep up the consistent top 3, top 5, and we should be looking good.
Well, you got a Canadian fan here in the booth, so we'll keep cheering you on, and Haynes will just have to wait for the next Australian to show up in the league.
Okay.
That was good stuff. Haynes, you got any sign of Hall over there?
Absolutely do. Our open class winner joins us, and how does that feel?
Yeah, that was an exciting race there. I wasn't quite sure. I knew I was battling for the top of open class, but didn't know for sure until the end, and I was able to look at all the results and see all the P's next to the guys in front of me.
Andrew Gilliland was sure there to give you a run for your money in the final stint as well in the run to the checkered flag. How's the pressure work around this track? Because no paved runoff, small mistakes can cost big.
Absolutely. I got to shout out Andrew. He's in the Discord chat with me, and he was giving me all I had. And he tried to make a couple moves there, and fortunately I was able to hold him off. But yeah, this track is really tricky. It's hard to make passes. There's not a lot of great passing zones, and the ones that you have, that you really got to get good runs out of the corners. And out of the previous corners and down into the next braking zone. And it's tough, but made it a couple of them work.
From the flat out stretches on the banking at Daytona to a much more technical track, which style of racing and which style of driving you feel most is going to suit you this season?
Oh, I don't know. I like the Daytona. I like the mental games you have to play to figure out when you're going to time your moves for the draft and all that. And I think that's going to be we're going to have a little bit of that kind of everywhere with this car. It's so draft dependent because you're just on the gas for so long, because the straightaways are longer in this car than any other car, it seems. So I think using that, you're gonna have to take that knowledge from Daytona and kind of apply it a little bit everywhere. There's a couple long straightaways on this track, and drafting was definitely a part of it. But I think I like the Daytona a little more. You can go a little more head games and strategize a little bit, whereas this, it's all about pace, and you can actually make a difference by pulling away from people.
And next week, then, at Watkins Glen, the classic boot layout, I believe they're calling that the Spa-Francorchamps of upstate New York. That's going to be right back in your wheelhouse again then.
Yeah, Watkins Glen's it's basically a super speedway with left and right turns, so it should be a good one, and hopefully keep up the momentum I've had these last couple races. Keep it going there.
You've got some absolutely fanatical fans in the YouTube chat at the moment. So before we let you go, I'm sure you're going to want to thank them and shout them out.
Yeah, a couple guys tuned into my stream that I was running, and they wanted to show some support. So thanks to those guys. Got to thank my teammates Camden and Andrew and that whole crew, and getting us through practice and having a good show today.
All right, beauty. Catch you next week.
Thanks, you too.
I reckon that's about it from Barber Devon, but like we said, at Watkins Glen on the classic boot, so the long layout, but without the inner loop chicane, makes it, I'm going to call it maybe 35 seconds of full throttle from turn one, all the way up through the S's, down the long straight, and to the flowing hairpin of the outer loop.
Yeah, and with the close pace levels that we've seen sort of in this series so far, I'm expecting that it's going to be feisty every time we get down into that big braking zone there. It's going to be a good time.
Congratulations once again go to the race winner in Pro Class, Nick Rasputo, and the race winner in the Open Class. We just had him, Daniel Hall. And if you want to watch next round, you'll join us again here on HJBC. If you want some fantastic Porsche parts, you'll go to RC Sales, Devon.
Yeah, go to RCSales.com for all that is Porsche. RC has thousands of parts available for virtually any Porsche model, providing high-quality service with a personal approach. And with worldwide shipping available, you won't need to go anywhere else. Visit RCSales.com today.
Another awesome round of the Spec-5 World Tour from Barber, and we look forward to Watkins Glen next Thursday night.